Today I'm reviewing a newly renovated 75 square meter or 800 square foot apartment in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It doesn't have any standout features architecturally, but the designer has done a really good job of maximizing the space and transforming it into a pretty cool place to live. But there are a few things that could be better here, and if you're buying or remodeling your own apartment, I want you to learn from these mistakes. I'm here to maximize your home's resale value through good design, link in the description, but for now, let's take a look inside this apartment. So there are a few interesting things happening in the kitchen here. First of all, they've got a really unique way of handling the cabinets. I mean, they've got this beautiful wood on what I'm assuming is the refrigerator and also on these two cabinets on the right. And this is cherry wood and it looks really good. But what would look even better is if they just use this cherry wood all the way through instead of using this white matte cabinet material as well. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't do that, but either way, at least having some accent here gives this place some personality. And I also really love this dark stone backsplash. It's actually sintered stone, which is man-made, so it's not a natural stone, but it's heat resistant, scratch resistant, stain resistant, and UV resistant, which makes it super durable, and so it's a great material for a backsplash and countertop. Now, it's actually a little hard to see here, but there are some matte black fixtures around the sink, which blend in really nicely with the backsplash, and they've opted for an open shelf above the backsplash rather than upper cabinetry, because it seems like they've got plenty of storage space already in here on the left. Now, I love the floors in here, and they've gone with a highly textured terracotta tile, so it's gonna feel really nice underfoot and give you a little more traction in the kitchen, which is always a good thing. But the other thing that really captures your attention in here is this California burl cabinet, which looks so good. Now, they're using it as a bar, which I think is actually a pretty good use of it, and look at this gorgeous lighting inside. It would be so easy for this to be really dark inside, especially because when these doors open, they're gonna block the natural light coming in from the window on the right, but by having built-in lighting, it just looks so smooth. But the thing that I don't love in here are these pastel yellow walls. I think if they just leaned into something that was a little more cream and a little less yellow, then the place would look a lot less dated. Because right now, it kind of looks like the place that used to have white walls and then somebody smoked in here for 10 years. So they would have done better by injecting more white and less yellow into the walls to freshen things up. But now let's look at the dining room, which is right next to the kitchen, so it's using the same material palette. It's got the same yellow on the walls, the same cherry wood used to frame this bench, and the same dark accents. And I think you can see now what I had in mind when I said that I would have preferred for them to use more cherry wood and less of the white matte material, because it just looks so classy here. Because by combining these two colors and textures of the rich wood with the deep blacks, it's a really nice look. Now, from a layout perspective, they've done a really good job here of being able to stick a dining nook into this room because the room is not that wide. But by going with a circular table where the edges are smooth and easy to navigate around, and especially by installing this built-in bench, they created an area almost out of nothing, and it works really well. They can seat 4 people comfortably at this table, which is pretty good for the size of the room. And building in the mirror behind the bench both looks good and also makes the space feel larger, as long as they don't crowd this upper shelf too much and block the reflection. Now, the table is going to be extremely heavy given that it's made of this dark burgundy marble, but it's counterbalanced by these Ray chairs, which are super visually light. But I want you to notice something. We haven't seen any heavily saturated colors in this home so far, but it still feels really rich and tasteful. And that's because of the contrast between the terracotta floors, the really warm wood paneling, and all the dark accents. And here in this dining room, this Werner Penton pendant light is going to dance as the breeze comes through the windows on the far end of the room. And because the pendant is the lightest tone in the room, and lighter than even the walls themselves, it's going to really shine, especially in the evenings. But let's keep moving into the living room, and this is where we start to see more color and personality coming through. We've got this Linea Rose Togo sofa that's become really popular in recent years. I've got to be honest, I don't think this is the right piece of furniture for this space. Of course, maybe they like it because it's comfy and it sits low to the ground, but it feels really out of place here because there's nowhere else to sit. In the dining room, we've got the bench and the dining chairs, but you're not going to want to sit around that table for very long. And then the only other seating option in this apartment is this. And I think they're really limiting themselves because you can't really host many people here. It's extremely informal, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But not everyone wants to be pushed backward when they sit on the couch, to the point where they're nearly sitting on the floor. In the corner here, they seem to have a stepladder, which frankly, I don't know what that's about. Maybe there's something up high that the homeowner can't reach, and so they need that. Regardless, there's nowhere else to sit. And then way in front of the sofa, they've got these 3 small tables, which do look good, but they're completely unusable if you're sitting on the sofa because the sofa pushes you back and you can't reach those at all. Then they've got these 2 other small side tables, but the setup just doesn't seem very functional. I would have liked for them to go with more of a traditional sofa and a couple of lounge chairs flanking that sofa to create more of a conversation zone. Because as it is now, there's no TV on the wall over here, so this sofa is really looking at nothing. Which again, I'm not suggesting that they need a TV by any means, but there's not really anywhere for people to have a conversation in here. It's set up in a very asocial way. But these aren't the only issues I have in here either. First, this wall looks so incredibly bare over here, and because the rug stops just short of the wall, it's like they forgot this piece of the room. They should really have some kind of furniture over here, ideally something like a low sideboard with a piece of art above it to fill out the space. They could even move this piece of art from above the couch over onto that wall, or at least go with something smaller here because there's already a lot going on the right side of the room, so it doesn't feel empty in the way that the left side does. But with that said, this piece of art here doesn't really work at all. We've got such classy, timeless colors in the kitchen and dining room, but then tossing this in here just throws everything off. And same with the curtains. You know, they've gone with these hot orange curtains that don't look good in this space, especially when they're contrasting with the smoker's yellow on the walls and the deeper terracotta on the floors. It just clashes. And when it comes to the side table, they've gone with the Pantone wire cube here on this side of the couch, and then they have this beautiful lamp sitting on top of it. But since you can't use these coffee tables in front of the couch while you're sitting on it, and the table on the other side of the couch seems to be extremely narrow, this Pantone wire cube is really the only viable place to put any food or drinks while you're sitting on the sofa. The problem is it's full of holes, especially this big one in the middle here. If you put a drink on the table and you accidentally put it in the wrong spot, then it can tip so easily, and all of a sudden you've got coffee or red wine all over your rug. It's just not functional. And keep in mind that this apartment is in Kuala Lumpur, and Malaysian culture is extremely family focused. And so it would be so common to have your parents come and visit the home. And I'm concerned that if this homeowner's parents come over, or maybe their in-laws or someone else like that, that they simply wouldn't have anywhere to sit in this place because this sofa's too low for an old person to get into and out of. Because if you're 70 or 80 years old, getting out of a sofa like this, where your weight is thrust backward, is not an easy task. It's not even an easy task for a young person, and so they're going to need assistance every single time. And that's going to get embarrassing for them, and they're not going to want to spend time in your space. So that's really something to keep in mind. When you're choosing furniture, and especially when you're making bolder furniture decisions like this one, don't just think about yourself using the space, but also think about anyone else who may be spending time there as well. And ask yourself, will they be able to have a positive experience in my home as well? Even if you live alone, you can't always just design for yourself, because if you do, your friends and family won't want to visit, and you'll have a really hard time selling the place when the time comes. But now let's move into the bedroom. We actually don't have a lot of photos of the bedroom, but let's start with this photo of the entryway because there's a couple interesting things I want to point out. First, the flooring changes from terracotta tile to hardwood. Honestly, I think either of them work, but it is nice to have that change to signal to the body that we're in a new space. But second, I want you to pay attention to these windows in the bedroom door, and I'll show you a close-up now. There are 4 of these windows, and they create this really cool frame of the bar cabinet when you look through them. But the problem is this: there's a window in your bedroom door that you can't close, and this is a clear case of placing form over function. Think about it. There are only 2 sleeping situations that you can have in an apartment like this. Number 1 is you live here alone and there's no one else in here, in which case you can freely leave the bedroom door open, and so there's no reason to have windows in the door. You've already got plenty of natural light coming into both rooms, and so there's no reason for a window to let that light pass through. You'll just leave the door open. But the second option would be that you have a guest staying over, maybe a friend or a family member, and they're staying in the living room. In that case, you would probably sleep with the door closed to offer both of you some privacy, and you wouldn't want windows in the door because it destroys that privacy. So in both cases, the windows in the door are irrelevant, and in the second case, they actually detract from the experience of living there. So I do like this as a design detail, but not on the bedroom door. And this is an important lesson because you first need to pay attention to basic needs like privacy before getting carried away with this kind of design detail. Because if you do something like this that looks good at the expense of a primary need, it's a sacrifice you should never be making. So I don't agree with this. Even though it looks cool, I don't agree with it at all. Now, what I do like about what's going on in here is that they've lightened up the walls, so moving away from that smoky yellow to more of a creamy white. And then we've got this tiny side table with a tiny lamp on it, which is actually sitting right next to the bedroom door. And then the homeowner has a few books stacked next to the bed. With this lamp, you can't even really read a book because the light is just too low. So I would have preferred that they had some kind of a pendant or a wall sconce to make the bed area more functional. Now, this shot of the bathroom helps to give us a better understanding of the layout of this home. We can obviously see the bed from here, but what we didn't see were these floor to ceiling windows in the bedroom, which match those in the living room and are really helping to brighten up the space. And then just between the bathroom door and the bed, on the left side, is the bedroom door that we just looked at. And so the bedroom isn't all that large, but it actually does look pretty nice with beautiful floors and a ton of natural light. And then if we twist our perspective again here, we can see even more of the bedroom, and this actually looks really good. They've got this little sculpture sitting on a dedicated table next to the bathroom door, what looks to be another colorful piece of art on the wall, and this gorgeous burgundy marble door frame that really makes the bathroom stand out. So I'm impressed with what we see here, and you can see all the way through to the walk-in closet, which is on the other side of the bathroom. Now, having to walk through the bathroom to get to the walk-in closet and try on your clothes isn't the best experience, but from what I can tell, it seems like 100% of the clothes are stored in the walk-in closet, and there's no additional dresser in the bedroom, which means that whenever you want to get dressed, you'll just walk in there, choose your clothes, check yourself in the mirror, and walk back out. So it won't be that much of a back and forth experience, though if they did have dressers in the bedroom itself, that wouldn't be quite as nice. But I've got to say, in an apartment that's only 75 square meters, or 800 square feet, having a walk-in closet this large is really impressive. So obviously the homeowner prioritized this closet when they redesigned the space, and I think it's a really smart move. But now let's talk about the bathroom itself, because it's really striking on its own. They've gone with floor to ceiling mosaic tiles in this matcha or pistachio color, and it looks pretty good. They've got light flooding in through the windows, and you can see that it hits the tiles in some unique and interesting ways, which is going to change as the sun moves throughout the day. And here on the vanity, we see the same burgundy marble that we saw on the dining room table and on the bathroom door frame, which gives the entire home a really cohesive look. But also in here, we've got some other nice accents with this wood framed 3-panel mirror with brass hinges that just contrast so nicely with the marble and the mosaic tiles. The colors are all pretty bold, but they still work together. And the fluted shower enclosure is another nice touch in case you've got two people using the bathroom at the same time and want a bit of privacy. But they're still missing out on privacy in other ways because there's no actual door on the bathroom at all. And so if there are multiple people in here and someone's using the bathroom, then they have no privacy from anyone in the walk-in closet or in the bedroom. Plus, this is the only bathroom in the apartment, which means that any guest who needs to use it needs to go through the bedroom and get a glimpse of the walk-in closet in order to use the bathroom. So it's a bit of an odd experience, which again, may not be an issue if the woman living here doesn't invite many guests over, but if she does, then it's something that she'll have to deal with. And she'll probably just have to make sure that her bedroom and closet are tidy at all times. Now, before I wrap up this apartment review, I was actually just in Kuala Lumpur, KL, and it's such a vibrant city. I've been there a ton of times over the years, and it's always full of energy and amazing food. So if you're in Southeast Asia and you're looking for a bit of an under the radar destination, check out KL. I think it'll surprise you. But now, what can we learn from this apartment? First, less color is often better. I love the tones that they use throughout this apartment, from the terracotta floors to the cherry wood and all those dark accents, but the orange curtains and yellow walls really throw it off for me, and the big piece of art in the living room just doesn't work for me either. I think if they had just stuck with a more timeless palette, they would have done themselves a lot of favors. Of course, they did manage to pull off color in the bathroom and with some accents throughout the apartment like the dark marble, but they still missed the mark a few times and it just cheapened everything else. Second, you're gonna need to make layout sacrifices when you've got a smaller home like this. In this specific case, the big layout issue is having the bathroom inside of the bedroom where guests need to walk through the bedroom to use it. If they wanted to avoid that, they could have added an extra door to the bathroom that connects to the dining room and then also put proper doors between the bathroom and the bedroom and walk-in closet. But that would have required them to, number one, move the vanity in the bathroom to accommodate that new door, and it would have decreased the amount of natural light. So I think they actually made the right move here given how the homeowner uses the space, but it's still worth talking about because there are always trade-offs to be made, especially in smaller apartments like this one. And third, you need to think about other people when you're designing your space, even if you live alone. In here, choosing a super low sofa that's difficult to get in and out of and not offering any other seating options means that it's going to be an uncomfortable place to spend time for guests, and especially for older guests. And on top of that, putting windows in the bedroom door means that both you and your guests won't feel fully at ease if anyone's sleeping in the living room. So these are small problems to solve, but they do show that there wasn't as much attention paid to other people using the space as there could have been, which not only makes it less functional while you're living here, but it also means that you're narrowing your buyer's pool for whenever you want to sell the apartment. So I'm breaking down a ton of apartments like this one, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of these videos. And if you want to see a home that does almost everything right, but gets one room very wrong, check out this video up here where I break down a gorgeous home in Washington State that drops the ball so badly, I have to stop recording before we see the entire home. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.